to order. Welcome to the September 23rd, 2024 Goffstown Select Board meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up would be the acceptance and correction of minutes. We have 2 weeks worth, 2 meetings worth, 8/26/24 and 9/9/24.
I'll make a motion, we accept the 8/26/24 public meetings. Want to do them both at the same time?
I'll second.
Now let's do them one at a time.
Okay.
Okay, motion by Mark, seconded by Kelly. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
I'd like to make a motion on the 9/9/24 public and non-public minutes.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Kelly. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes. Do we have one announcement tonight?
Down another door.
The New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, NHDES Dam Bureau, is holding a public informational meeting to discuss the details and to answer questions concerning the current status of the Kelly Falls Dam and the drawdown of Namaski Lake. This meeting will occur on Monday, September 30th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Heber Theater at Goffstown High School, located at 27 Wallace Road, Goffstown, New Hampshire, 03045. For more information, please contact Corey Clark, NHDES Dam Bureau. Contact information can be found under the news and announcements on the town website, which is www.goffstownnh.gov. Is there anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, and seeing Rodney is here, we'll call Rodney up. We'll talk about a proposed ordinance regulating electioneering at polling places.
Good evening.
Good evening, Rodney.
Sit right here.
Yep, if you found it, tab 6.
I gotta change my glasses so I can see what I'm doing.
That's something new.
Okay. All right, my name is Rod Stark, town moderator. I have a little statement I'd like to put in the record, if I could.
Go ahead, sir.
For 44 years, I've had the privilege of serving as the moderator for the town of Goffstown. On election days, I preside over the polls as chief election officer. Goffstown has 2 polling locations, Goffstown High School, which is known as District 1, and Violet Elementary School, which is known as District Number 5. I am fortunate to have Lionel Coulon serve as my longtime assistant moderator at Violet. I don't know if he's here tonight.
Yeah, he's here.
Back to you. Hello, Rodney.
Did I walk right by you?
No, I walked right in.
Good. Well, Lionel's been assistant moderator down at Violet for a good long time. Before each election, it is my responsibility to work with the selectmen and other election officials to ensure that the polling places are properly arranged and accessible. I work with the selectmen, the clerk, and other election officials to develop operational facility plans which anticipate common emergencies and effective local response. And I have to give undying credit to the clerk's office. I mean, for everything connected with elections. I mean, everything, from soup to nuts. As stated In the proposed electioneering at polling places ordinance, which is the matter before the board here, the declaration of purpose is intended to establish enforceable policies regarding safety of all, rights of voters, uninterrupted movement of voters and vehicles, parking limitations, signage, electioneering, and distribution of campaign materials. Adherence to fulfilling my duties as moderator are examined by the New Hampshire Attorney General's office at each state election by an election day site visit. They come here every time. I think they go around the state. Anyway, election officials may be cited for not adhering to the requirements of a 9-page polling place checklist. This is the 9 pages of it. It didn't used to be that long, but they keep adding to it. Anyway, it's a checklist of internal and external scrutiny. I can proudly say that I have never been written up by the Attorney General's office for violations of this 9-page list. And I think that's a good thing to note. For the record, when I say I haven't, I mean the election officials, everybody involved. It is essential that there is a clear, well-marked path from the parking lot or sidewalk to the accessible poll entrance and then back into the tables, to the check-in tables. RSA 659.25 authorizes the moderator to limit the time a voter can tie up a voting booth or voting privacy screen, as well as the time the voter may remain within the guardrail. These are, they put in time limits so that everybody can get through. It's going to be a real premium on this upcoming election because everybody anticipates there's going to be a big turnout. Anyway, a registered voter should generally not be required to wait more than 15 minutes to reach the ballot clerk's check-in table, or 30 minutes to reach the voter registration table. Those are statutory timeframes. Presently, there is no clear authority for the moderator to limit parking at the polling sites. The August 2024 issuance of the New Hampshire Election Procedure Manual, it just keeps growing. This is the one that I'm talking about right here. This one used to be that big. Anyway, on pages 9 and 10 here, there are instructions that moderators and the select board should assess the need to control parking at the polling places to ensure the availability of convenient parking for voters. Parking for voters. Parking control may be prudent for the November 5th, 2024 presidential cycle general election. A 2020 law change provides that an authorized official may cause the removal and storage of a vehicle if he has reasonable grounds to believe that the vehicle has been left unattended for longer than 3 hours. That's the 3 hours that they say in here. In an area designated for voters who are temporarily present for the purpose of voting. The use of the statute requires that the area be designated by signs for short-term voter parking. A vote by the select board, working with the police chief, have authority to adopt a temporary ordinance that sets time limits for parking. And that's included in this proposed ordinance. Depending upon the available parking and the expected time needed to park and vote. Using this authority to set a time limit shorter than 3 hours may be prudent. And what's been proposed is a 1-hour limit. And we think that that's reasonable under all the circumstances. I don't know who in his right mind would need 3 hours, but that's, we've got 1 hour in this ordinance. The election procedure manual continues to provide guidance regarding electioneering on vehicles parked at the polling place. Law enforcement should assess whether the vehicle with the electioneering sign affixed would be legal and safe to drive on a public way. In contrast, a 4x8 sign securely affixed to the bed of a pickup truck in such a way that it wouldn't interfere with operation may be okay, not okay on a car. Establishing a time limit for polling place parking is the appropriate mechanism to keep all vehicles, including those displaying electioneering messages, from tying up available parking all day and making it more difficult for voters to find convenient parking. In regard to designated electioneering areas established by the moderator, safety for all must be the #1 priority. When I establish an electioneering area at Goffstown High School and Assistant Moderator Coulon establishes an electioneering area at Bartlett. Each facility has its unique parking lot and sidewalk approaches to the entrance of each poll. For the previous 3 2024 elections, I have personally visited each election site to review issues and opportunities to designate an electioneering area with guidance from the Goffstown Police Department personnel. I have not disregarded the right for those electioneering to be visible by incoming voters. They're all visible. Goffstown High School utilizes doors at the front and rear of the building as 2 main entrances from parking in the lower and upper parking lots. The electioneering area that has been designated for the past 40+ years provides an area for those holding campaign signs to be seen by all approaching voters, whether they are entering the school parking lot from the lower or upper level. They can all be seen. On the January 23rd, New Hampshire presidential primary election day, an electioneering area was roped off beyond the outside edge of the gym's door, the overhead pavilion. This front door was skimmed with snow over the grassed area between the sidewalk and the building. The designated area was not conducive for campaigners to stand. Goffstown High School the rear building door access is not ADA accessible, and establishing a walk-through corridor 10 feet from the entryway is challenging due to an array of movable containers and vehicular equipment. Most of our election days are held during inclement weather, making slip and fall a major safety factor for incoming voters in electioneering. The Bartlett School facility is challenged for space, inside and out. Parking is extremely limited. The front door is accessible by a 5-foot wide sidewalk, alongside a circular driveway allowing front door voter drop-off. The middle grassed median between the circular driveway and the sidewalk bordering the street is uneven and narrow. It is also potentially snow-covered during late fall and winter election days. Allowing the median as an electioneering area was deemed unsafe and not recommended by the Goffstown Police Department advisor. I am asking the select board to bring forward the proposed electioneering at polling places ordinance for public hearing. I encourage the board to support this ordinance allowing the moderator to utilize its authority on election days to promote a safe and welcoming environment for all Goffstown voters and candidates. Thank you.
Questions? First one I would have, of course, is, Matt Bartlett, what would you recommend then that you mark off some of the spots on Mass Road as voter parking only?
I guess that I wouldn't want to rule it out. I wouldn't want to rule it out. I mean, they're tight down there.
Right. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah. In our discussion we had, Mr. Chairman, we talked about moving all of the employees across the street in the dollar store, so that would free up multiple parking spots there. And I'm still waiting to get an answer back from Rhymes to see if we can use that as an auxiliary parking lot, and we're trying to make more room. The committee was in favor of the arch in the front of the school to make that all handicap accessible. So we're working on the parking, Peter. It's just to come up with it.
'Cause you remember,
Oh, I remember.
but no, St. A's was offered to us before, and for some reason we keep turning it down, which would have taken care of a lot of your problems. And we, for some reason, we just don't want to use it. I don't understand
Because
that.
school would have still been in session.
It doesn't matter, we could use it.
Well, I'm telling you why we turned it down.
I don't remember that discussion, but that's okay. So, does this conform to the state's rules, as far as you can tell?
Yeah, I mean, there's a law that gives the town the authority to enact an ordinance. We've never had an ordinance on election day parking and electioneering, but this establishes an ordinance and gives the police some teeth, because right now they don't have any. I mean, you violate the ordinance, and it's a violation up to $1,000. Pure and simple. Right now, we don't have any authority.
It just is for Bartlett, that's a change in, and I think that could be a problem, because, even when those people are standing on the sidewalk, electioneering over by the fence, I mean, could they be considered blocking passage to the voters who are parking on the street? I want to make sure we have everything's clean and clear, and
I don't blame you. I mean, you probably will never have 100% perfection, no matter what you do, but at least we're giving it a shot.
Jim? Calls? Go ahead.
But doesn't it also give the town the authority to make modifications during the day to adjust the parking, if I remember correctly? If something unusual happens, and whether it's at Bartlett or even at the high school, so, we need to expand parking a little bit more here or there.
I would think, yeah, I don't know that that's spelled out in the ordinance, but I don't know why you couldn't do that, Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have police officers on duty, and they're gonna be our eyes, basically, on what's happening out there in the streets and the parking lots. And if they come to me and say, we should make some changes, we can do that. We can do that.
Jim?
I'm just listening and looking at the wording of the ordinance, and it only gives the moderator authority to designate parking locations at the polling place. So the polling place is designed it's defined as the building and the grounds where the elections are held. So if you wanted to tell people, workers, that they had to park at Bernard Park or something, or across the street. You can't tell them that, you can't designate any place off the polling, so maybe that ought to be changed, that polling places or other areas or something like that, just so it's clear that you have the authority to tell people to park, to designate Rhymes across the street as parking place. Want to be clear or cleaner.
Well, I would think that, yeah, I mean, we're anticipating the use of off-site parking.
No, and I think, yeah, I
That's a
just
good
think it's
point.
I think it's a little word change.
I would think that, is Derek here? I mean, yes. Can we modify it accordingly?
Yes, I think the select board can modify the ordinance, and that's also part of the public hearing process where you can iron out some of those minor technical issues.
But if you have 1 hour parking, doesn't that take care of your question? As far as somebody leave parking there for longer than that?
No, I don't think it has, what I'm talking about doesn't have anything to do with the length. It just, he doesn't, according to this, he doesn't have the authority to say, you gotta park across the street at Rhymes, even if Rhymes says you can. I mean, it's just cleaner, that's all. It's just,
Kelly?
My question was about the vehicles may not be left unattended for longer than 1 hour at any polling place while an election is being held. How could we possibly manage that in both the upper and lower parking lot of the school, at the high school? Who would be responsible for that?
Well, ultimately, it would be you mean to enforce it, would be the police.
Right, so the Goffstown Police Department would be responsible for checking time on vehicles. I just want to clarify what grounds they have to tell, like, how are they going to enforce, you've been here longer for an hour without having a start and end time for every single vehicle? Like that
Yeah, well,
sounds a bit complex.
maybe a little bit dicey, but I mean, if a police officer notices that a car has not been moved for a long time, you might put a clock on it.
Is there a procedure for what to do after that point? So do they try to get the person to move the vehicle? Do
Well, I
they
think,
write a ticket? Do they, I mean, what happens?
well, I think that would be the first thing. I can remember years and years and years ago, somebody came to the high school at election. I don't remember what the election was. But the vehicle was parked right at the bottom of the stairs that we all used to go up. Okay? And it had election signs all over it. It stayed there. Well, nobody knew whose car it was until we got in touch with DMV with the plate. And then we were able to find out, and we got in touch with the owner and made him move it. Because otherwise we were gonna tow it.
So I guess what I was trying to get at, Rob, is the logistics of managing that and the fact that we already have traffic detail provided by GPD at, I'm speaking specifically to the high school. Do they have the extra resources, or is that manageable? And I'm asking if you've talked to Chief Serino about that and what that would actually look like on election day.
I don't know that I can answer that question, but I would think that, you know, to fully enforce an ordinance like this on the parking situation, on a very busy turnout day, you'll probably have to have extra personnel.
Right, and I'm worried about police resources on that day and the ability to have multiple areas where they're coming in and out. I have a lot of logistics about that side of it on behalf of the Goffstown Police Department, because I don't even know if that's manageable for them.
Can we call the chief up and ask him?
Yeah.
Sure we could, will they come up with something?
No? Let's put it this way. Chief, come up and ask the question.
So I think, to answer your question, I think if you've been around long enough to see that we are short-staffed and election days are very complex for us. You know, it's enough to try to get officers to work the polls and stay there all day. Some of them work for more than they should, 18 hours. And then to put officers out into the parking lot along with potentially CERT to just deal with the traffic issues we have, especially in November, is going to be a big operation. To add the complexity of us to go around and determine whether or not cars are there 1 hour or longer is going to be challenging. And I understand, I think, to the moderator's point of what this is intention, but I think that if we're going to enforce it, we have to enforce it 100% down the middle, and that includes everybody, and that's very challenging for us. I think when you start cherry picking one political truck versus a car, it becomes very wishy-washy in what we're looking at here. And I don't want to be the person that's in the middle of a political battle of whose car's been here longer, which side of the aisle you're from, and I think that creates a lot of problems for us. I mean, if this ordinance goes through and that's what the voters want and that's what the board wants, our job is to enforce town ordinances.
Chief, I hear you, but do you have any input on what the actual process would be for, like, that's really the logistics of how you would enforce it? Like, what is the process for if someone comes out and says that car's been here for more than an hour, the officer observes the car being there for more than an hour? Like, what do they do from that point? Do
Yeah,
they
so-
reach out to the person? Do they write a ticket? Like, what do we do if that's the case?
So I'll use our snow emergency ordinance that we have where we can tow cars. Typically, we always use the lowest level, right? So if the car's there, it's been, determined it's been there for more than an hour. Our officers are typically gonna run the plate, figure out who this person is, try to have dispatch, see if we have any contact with them for a phone number. We'll try to call them ourselves, get a hold of them. We'll look around the polling station, maybe they're known to us, to ask them, hey, let them know this ordinance exists. Maybe they weren't aware of it, give them the benefit of the doubt. Lowest level, just say, hey, you're in violation of this, let's see if we can move it along. Obviously, like anything else in this town, we can write tickets for that. In this situation, it's not on the fee schedule, so we wouldn't just hand out like a typical parking ticket. I think what the moderator's getting at is that it's not like Glen Lake where you write the ticket, they stay parked there for the day because they like to pay the fine and they don't have to pay parking at Hampton Beach. I think the moderator's intention is to get that electioneering vehicle out of the parking lot. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Not just write the ticket, you're in violation of this ordinance, have a nice day. So the understanding here is that we would be probably short summoning people to court over a town ordinance violation, and then potentially towing their vehicle out of the parking lot.
Just go back just a little bit. Is this ordinance that you think is just the parking for electioneering vehicles, or is it for everybody's vehicle?
I think it generally speaks to everybody's vehicle. I mean, it doesn't necessarily relate just to vehicles that might have a sign on it.
He's got, the way this is written, for us, it would have to be really important, pre-planning for this, to have the moderator designate the specific parking spots for all the election workers, all the, poll people, anybody else, because it's basically giving the moderator all the power to designate this. And as a chief, I need to know that pre-day, where everybody is, what this, where the lines are, because again, it's not necessarily for electioneers, he's controlling parking for everybody. So if we have election poll workers that need to park there for 12 hours, he needs to let us know that's a designated spot for those poll workers. They can stay there for 12 hours. He's making that determination because this ordinance is, if it's written this way and adopted, is empowering him to make that decision. That's the way I interpret this and read it.
I think that's a correct interpretation.
Derek?
I just need to remind you, you do have a public hearing scheduled for 6:30.
Okay. Can we just go through the public hearing and then come back to this? Just give us a couple minutes.
Thank you.
And I think there's still more questions.
For the public hearing, you're at tab 8 of your packet.
Pursuant to New Hampshire RSA 31:95-B, the Goffstown Select Board is conducting this public hearing to receive public input to accept and expend unanticipated funds totaling $380,599.54 from the State of New Hampshire Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, 4516 Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. The grant funds will be used for the town to replace a road culvert on Montaloma Road. The total cost of the project is $422,788.38, in which the town will be responsible for 10% match of $42,278.84. Is there anybody here from the public to speak to this? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Motion?
I'll make a motion to accept terms of the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, HMGP, as presented in the amount of $380,509.54 for mitigating local infrastructure culvert. Furthermore, the board acknowledges that the total cost of this project will be $422,788.38, in which the town will be responsible for a 10% match of $42,278.84. Want me to read the other half of that motion as well?
No, that's a different motion.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Kelly. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes. Now you can read the second one, Mark, if you want.
Motion to authorize DPW Director Adam Jacobs to enter into a grant agreement with the State of New Hampshire Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management on behalf of the Town of Goffstown for the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, HMGP, for the Montalona Road Culvert Project, to further authorize DPW Director Adam Jacobs to execute any document which may, in judgment, be desirable or necessary to effect the purpose of this vote.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any questions? Kelly, go ahead.
I guess it's for Adam, where is he? I see in the grant the completion date of May 2nd, 2026. Is there any contingencies for if we can't complete the work by that time and the funds, is that impacted at all?
We did ask them, at the state Homeland Security, they said that they could, as long as we're making forward progress and there are,
Okay.
funds that have been set
So
aside.
I know we had ordering issues a while
Contractors
ago.
selected,
Okay.
yeah. Yep, should be okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any motion was by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes. Rodney, you back at it?
Great.
I got kind of the same concerns as Eric has. Is it like at the high school, I mean, we're talking Bartlett parking across the street or off-site, but the high school, you wouldn't be doing that, because there's really, unless you're busing somebody in from Parks and Rec, you really wouldn't be doing that. Would you be designating a poll worker area? Is that what the plan would be?
Yeah,
Say the back parking lot or whatever?
yeah, an area or a section, so that, we'd know where everybody's okay to stay there, because they're working.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got any more questions?
Yeah, but I need to think about it.
Does this and I don't know, Eric or maybe Derek can answer, does this authorize the town moderator to appoint any place as a designated parking area for voting?
So RSA 620, or 262:32, this is the change that went into effect in 2020. It says a vehicle is parked or has been left unattended on election day for longer than 3 hours in an area designated for voters who are temporarily present for the purpose of voting. So I think under that you could designate parking spots along Mass Road in near Bartlett School. You could, as long as they were clearly designated that they are temporary voting spots. then-
Cones with signs in them?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, that RSA already already exists. And again, same.
But for that one, that's a 3 hour.
Right.
A 3 hour.
And same thing, if somebody makes that complaint to us, that somebody's been parked there, we're gonna do the same procedure. Typically, our officers are gonna go out, try to find out who this person is, inform them of the law, help them understand that this is in violation, and really just trying to help them move along. And if things continue to escalate, well, then obviously, we'll have to make those decisions at that time, but, we're not in the, Goffstown PD has never been the type of agency that just shows up with a tow truck and just rips your car out of there and moves along.
Go ahead.
For safety reasons, Eric, you don't have to answer this in detail, but is it possible for CCTV to assist in this for PD?
Sure. I mean,
I think there's one complication is we are at school facilities and the town may not have the footage may not be as immediately accessible. That might be one limiting factor.
if we were to go that route, we would have to logistically set up with the school district. We don't have access to their cameras. That would be something that we have to work with the school district to get access to them. Or if they make a complaint of an offense 3 days later, then yes, we could go back and, but again, we have to be very careful how we ask for school cameras. It's not as simple as just walking in the door and saying, give us here. We have to have like a legitimate crime being committed.
Okay, would you mind if we ask, I'd just like to check with Town Clerk Kathy to make sure that she's happy with this. You're the one's gonna be stuck trying to get people to park someplace else, so.
So, in the past, we had an election that we gave everyone a card to put on the dashboard of their car to say that they were an election worker. So we've done that in the past to identify people that were going to be there for a long period of time. One of the things that we've done in the morning with the suggestion by the police department is that workers that came in for the first part of the morning would park as you first entered the lower parking lot off of Wallace Road. And the theory behind that, it was explained to me that people wouldn't be backing in and out on a continual basis, which jammed up people entering in off of Wallace Road to get in and out. That worked fine for the morning, but those people weren't gone for the changing of the shift for people coming in at 12:30, 12:45 to park for the afternoon. And those folks ended up having to go someplace else. So I certainly think it's a situation that we could make arrangements with all the poll workers that we invite to come work and schedule to ask them to park out back. And that way the people that would be there for a long period of time would be able to park out back and not be blocking up the front parking lot. One of the biggest concerns that we've had expressed by voters coming in that were senior citizens is that they weren't able to get into the front parking lot to park because of they were flagged on to the upper parking lot, and they were of an age that they didn't want to roll down the window and debate with the officer that I need to go in this lower parking lot. So when we had a preliminary meeting about brainstorming what we could do, one of the suggestions with DPW, Adam was there, and we talked about could we get a signboard and could we do some publicity as you came up Wallace Road to be able to say to people, put on your four-way flashers if you need ADA parking, so that the officer would know that they had to go in the front parking lot instead of being forced to the back parking lot, you know, and not having the ADA accessibility with the long walk and the hill going in. So I think that the idea is to try to put more people in through the front parking lot and keep people that need to be there for a long period in the back parking lot. Rod was just asking me what we were looking at for staffing for Goffstown High School, about how many people might typically be there. And my estimates that I did between people coming in to team to process absentee ballots, supervise the checklist people, hallway directors, we potentially could have 100 cars each morning shift and afternoon of people that are poll workers at that site. So we certainly would want to put them in an area that they were out of the way and not interfering with people that needed more accessibility coming in. So that's something that we talked about that we could potentially do.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Mark?
Chief Serino, might we also invite CERT to assist us with this election to take off some of the stress from the police when it comes to parking? We can use them
Yep.
to put them in, you know, in the places where we need them.
Yes, when they are out in full force, they help us out a lot.
Okay.
We've used them in previous elections.
And
Definitely
the other
an
thing that wasn't mentioned, Peter, is when we had our meeting, Adam and the rest of us talked about possibly making parking on one side of Mast Road, the school side, coning it off because we have that middle lane, and making it so that the cars can pull in and park and still have a 2-lane travel. We had talked about that. We didn't bring it up in any further discussion, but it's there.
So for this right now, we just need a motion to take it to public hearing so that we
Yes.
can hear input on this?
Yep.
Okay, is this a natural stopping point for me to go ahead and do that so we can think about it a little more before the hearing?
Anybody else got any questions, comments before I?
No, I agree. I think it's good enough to bring to public hearing, because we don't know what we're going to get at public hearing. There may be significant changes, there may not be, but we're going
Well-
to certainly get some feedback at the public hearing that may influence what our document's going to look like.
But when we go to public hearing, we certainly should have
Yeah,
lots of answers.
right.
You know,
Something we're comfortable with, for sure.
Yes, very, something a little concrete, you know, so when the question comes up, you can answer it. I don't know how many changes, getting so close to the amount of time we can make on the fly, but go ahead and make your.
Well, I'm comfortable with this. I'll make a motion to start the public hearing process and get that clock running.
I'll second his motion.
Motion by Collis, seconded by Mark. Go ahead.
And I just need to point out on, at tab 6, you do have a proposed schedule. This, because we have this ordinance a little bit late, your first public hearing will be on Monday, October 7th, and then we'll have a special meeting on Thursday, October 17th, simply for the matter of the second public hearing.
And then Monday, 10/28/24 will be the final vote.
Would be the vote, yes.
Right.
And the first and second hearings have to be 10 days apart, is that right?
Yes, yes.
So we have a motion by Collis, seconded by Mark, to move forward to the public hearing with the proposed ordinance regulating electioneering at the polling places,
As presented.
as presented. Any further? Anybody? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you, Roger. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
You ready for me? Yes. I just would like to take 1 second, though. There's some firefighters here in the audience. I just wanted to tell them you guys did a great job last week. It was well attended and well planned. Thank you.
Thank you. Here at tab 7 of your packet,
right, thank you, Highway Safety Committee. A couple things. First, if I could just formally thank the board for the Employee Day, Appreciation Day. It was appreciated by all of us at the police department. I speak on behalf of them, but thank you for doing that. We really appreciate that. You know, for the people who, we had quite a few people this year that came on their day off to enjoy the food and the music. So thanks again for that. We appreciate that. It was really nice.
You guys earned it.
So up first, we're going to take the, we had a reconsideration for the stop sign on Joppa Hill on Mountain Road area. Sorry, that's Back Mountain Road. That's a error on our part here. Joppa Hill at Back Mountain Road. If I can bring you guys back a couple of meetings ago, we had a citizen who wanted a stop sign in that area. At the time, Highway Safety decided to take no action on that. Since that time, we've received several other complaints on that road. We took another look at it, and we all, as Highway Safety members, we all agreed that it's time to put a stop sign there at the intersection of Joppa Hill and Back Mountain Road. It is now not a rural dirt road full of potholes and trees that has, when you used to drive down that road coming from Bedford, you were, driving slow with potholes, dirt road, and then as you come over the hill crest, there was some pavement from Back Mountain that delineated there's something different here. Now it's wide open, fresh pavement. You're coming through there pretty quick. There's a hill crest that blinds you from the intersection, and as you come down that hill crest, it's pretty hard to determine that Mountain Base and Joppa Hill and Back Mountain actually come together. We haven't had any significant accidents at this point, but we still felt that there's a need there for not only a stop sign on Joppa Hill, but just before the hill crest when you're coming from Bedford, we want to put an advisory stop ahead sign as well. I just for people's I don't know if you can see this, I put together a quick sketch. I'm not a graphic designer, but this is what it looks like from Back Mountain looking up Joppa Hill. So we want to put the stop sign there, and then over this hill crest, we want to put a stop sign advisory ahead. That'll help motorists that are coming that aren't familiar with the area. As they're coming to that hill crest and they can't see the stop sign, they'll be advised there's a stop sign ahead, come across and slow down. It's definitely a need at this point, so that's the Highway Safety Committee recommending 5-0 to put a stop sign in that area. There's a line of sight issue as well, and they, as you can see, DPW did a pretty good job. They cut back all the trees and it's a nice freshly paved road, so that's why we're looking to do that.
Let's take these one at a time while he brings them up, okay? Any questions on this?
I'll make a motion to move forward with the ordinance to install a stop sign on Joppa Hill Road at the intersection of Back Mountain Road.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Collis.
You need to put that advisory sign.
Put the
as well.
advisory sign in there too as well.
Right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
Did this need to go, in our
So-
packet, it says it needs to go to public hearing.
Yes, because the stop sign will be an ordinance, you'll have to do the two public hearings. The advisory sign does not require ordinance, but we will mention that in the notice.
So then the motion is to bring it to public hearing.
Yes.
The stop sign.
Yep, to move forward with an
Move forward
ordinance.
with it,
Yep,
with
so-
public hearing. Right.
Okay. Second one up was a traffic concern at the intersection of Factory Street on the Main Street. This is the first time that the police department has taken any complaint of any traffic issues since the Factory Street apartments have opened up. An individual had reached out to Highway Safety, was concerned that when they were driving down Main Street from the St. Lawrence Church area, a vehicle coming out of Factory Street, instead of making the left into the intersection, went right into the travel lane and immediately tried to do a U-turn in front of the Sawyers in that area. They felt that there was something needed to be done or looked at that intersection. Highway Safety took a look at it and decided 5-0 take no action. Part of that was because we have no other issues in that area. We haven't had any significant crashes since it's opened. Speed and accidents weren't a factor, and that intersection was, when they first developed that, looked at by a traffic engineer.
Anybody got any questions on this one? Motion?
I'll make a motion to take no action at this time in regards to traffic at Factory Street and Main Street.
Second.
Second, motion by Kelly, seconded by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
And the last one we had was a request for a street light on Hague Street at the intersection of Hague and Mass Road. The resident there was concerned that that corner of Hague and Mass was a little bit dim at night and wanted a street light there. Highway Safety looked into it. We advised there are other street lights there that illuminate the area pretty well, and we also erred on the side of caution, as the board has recommended. Ab and I put together a policy to kind of streamline how we put street lights up in Pinardville. So at this point, we took no action pending we look at another policy down the road, and there's going to be a development, a change in that area anyway, so we're assuming that it'll be more lit up. So.
Any questions, anybody? Seeing none, motion?
I'll make a motion to take no action in regards to the street light in the vicinity of 3 Hague Street.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you, Chief.
Next item is at tab 9. This is the wetland permit for Juniper Drive.
Yeah, sorry in advance for the paperwork. The chair's gonna have to sign on this one. Multiple copies of everything.
That's what I said, I gotta sign all that stuff.
So we don't do this very often. Just as a quick background on typical culvert projects, there's a whole program that's a few years old that allows us routine roadway maintenance type actions where we can replace culverts up to 40 inches in lake size without a wetlands permit unless there's other factors that would require one. This culvert's pretty good size. Probably got it back. I think it's a 48 by 72 elliptical, and it's got some handful of issues with it. Most notably, the first thing that came to us was some sinkhole action developing above it, and it looks like some of the seams are separating. There's also a perch. There's not much of a wetlands to connect, but there is a beaver pond and prime wetland up above this area. So to have full connectivity with an unperched culvert, which would allow Fish and Wildlife to pass, would be preferable, of course. But where it's failing, we wanted to make sure that the safety aspect, that it's a dead end road. We don't want to cut off the last couple of houses on the street prematurely anyway, or for a long period of time for a full bridge project. We took a look at this based on the hydraulic study that was done by Hoyle Tanner to see what we could do for a project, and come to the conclusion that the cheapest, fastest, and least impact to the residents and the wildlife in the area and to the stream itself would be to line this and then take some actions at the outlet of the pipe to remove that perch and do some armoring and protection of the stream, so we'd actually improve the water quality there a little bit as well. Pretty cost effective for a pipeliner solution versus a full excavation with a precast structure like we have in that Monte Lona project. Anyway, it's a big enough watershed that it does require a wetland permit. That's why you're seeing one here tonight. The project itself would be permitting. Earliest we'd probably look to get into this would be 2025. I think right now I have it as 2026 in our CIP that we proposed. But depending on how that Monte Lona project timing goes, maybe a one versus the other first situation. But first step is to get the permitting submitted. We'll find out if there's anything else that we don't know about in there. Once we get that approved permit back, then we can start talking about timing and cost and lining up a contractor. we're doing it in-house.
This is an in-house project?
It probably will be for the pipe lining and for the outlet protection. When you line a pipe, depending on the methodology, but the most cost-effective solution here is like a snap-tight large plastic pipe that can go in, and then what has to happen is the annular space around the new pipe has to be grouted. We can't do that piece in-house. We probably hire a contractor to pump in grout to secure it, but the rest of it we could, in theory, do. Oh, and then, sorry, the second biggest part about this request for tonight is that the outlet of the pipe is actually on part of a parcel that the school, Goffstown School District owns, that their address is actually on Tibbetts Hill, but it's the back half of that property. It necks down to this little tiny piece of frontage, which was given to the school at the time of the development of Juniper Drive as a unbuildable lot with a stream through it. So
It was an exchange deal, wasn't it? Didn't we
may have been, I don't know
we exchanged it with something else.
that piece of it, but I know on the original plans it's dedicated to the school district. So what they did is they merged the lots. So the school district owns the parcel of land that has frontage right at the outlet of the culvert. DES would prefer that we have some sort of a formal easement in place to be able to flowage rights. I'm sure we have a prescriptive easement to flow water, as it's always gone that way, but it'd be nice to get a formal document in place. So with your permission, if we go ahead and approve the wetland permit signing, the second piece of it would be a request to allow Derek and I to talk to the school district about getting a drainage easement for that outlet.
Any questions? Seeing none?
I'll make a motion to authorize the chair to sign the necessary documents.
Second.
The necessary documents for the
For the
wetland
wetlands
permit.
permit documents, yes.
Motion by Collis, seconded by Martin. Any further discussions, questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes. Need
And
a-
then I'll make a motion to authorize the town administrator and DPW director to begin the process to obtain the drainage easement for lot 8-74 from the Goffstown School District.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Collis. Any questions on this one? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And thank you
Derek,
for-
you're up.
I'm just going to say thank you for the grant acceptance too. It's a pretty good deal. We've already spent some of the money that we were required to for the match, so we'll be asking for reimbursement soon on that first piece. That was for the permitting and the design. So won't have a big lift for the 2025 budget from us, and we'll just put the small remaining piece for the match on there for my CIP, but other than that, so.
That's also an in-house project?
That one's not. Probably going to be the FEMA rates. It gets pretty complicated with the federal funding if you try to do the in-house match piece. So we're going to put that out to bid. Have probably on-site construction inspection and stuff. That'll be a big enough box culvert that it will qualify as a bridge.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Derek?
Yes, at tab 10, you have your committee meeting assignments for the next 2 weeks. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m., the Budget Committee will tour the police department.
That's me, but I'm not going to be able to make that. Is there anyone who wants to go on that tour of the police department for this year's upcoming budget items?
I'll do it.
Okay, thank you.
And at 6 p.m., here in this room, the Goffstown River Advisory Committee will have their initial meeting.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Wednesday, 6:30 p.m., the Historic District Commission will meet at Grassmere Town Hall.
Yep.
7 p.m., the Conservation Commission will meet in this room.
I'll be there.
On Thursday at 10 a.m., Joint Loss Safety Committee will meet here.
Yeah, I get that.
And at 7 p.m., the Planning Board will meet here.
Yep, I have that as well.
And then next week, on Wednesday at 6 p.m., Economic Development Council meets here.
Yep, that's fine.
And at 6:30 p.m., Library Board of Trustees.
Yep.
At your next page, you have your consent agenda. You have employee status report. You have a full-time firefighter resignation. And then you have a full-time scale operator hourly incentive. And then you have a cemetery deed for rights to inter West Lawn expansion, section W1, lot number 59, and the deed is number 961.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Mark. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
Under the assessor's recommendations, you have a tax abatement for the assessment on map 3, lot 22. The assessor recommends approval.
Motion,
Go ahead, Mark.
motion to approve the assessor's recommendation as presented this evening.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Kelly. Discussion, questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
That's all I had.
Old business. He already left. I'm gonna ask him, it says return to service today, but I wrote it did. Where are we on Tower Lane? I keep asking every week, but what?
I did talk to Joanne about it a couple of weeks ago. Let me get a more formal update from her. She said she did have the latest from Mark, from Matt Surge, our attorney, and she sent it over to me, but I gotta look through it again.
I don't know if everybody knows what's going on over there. There's some lots got sold, I can't get to them, so. Anybody got any questions on this? Pardon me? No? Any new business?
Yes, I have new business.
Huh?
Yes, I have new business.
Kelly has new business. Do we have a non-public there?
We do not.
Derek, have one of
Those
these?
two, please.
Two each?
You got two there, Derek?
I've got a single one here, that's fine.
Well, he has the other one. Can you pass that other one to Jim? What do you need?
Which one do you have?
I got the Dan.
I've got the personnel plan.
You need this,
Between that and the,
this. I'll give you the
That's fine.
one after.
Yep.
So it recently came to my attention that,
you got this one, yeah?
No.
that Joe Alexander, the chair of the budget committee, sent text messages about me recently to Selectman Georgiantis that could, I'll say, could be considered sexual harassment. As our current code of conduct has no, for elected officials, has no mention of sexual assault or harassment. And I'm disappointed that I'm even having to bring this forward, but I'm asking through this policy that we rewrite our current sexual assault and harassment policy for the town to be updated for elected and appointed officials and have that included in our code of conduct, because I think obviously it's necessary and we need to help define what sexual assault and harassment is. And I also think it's prudent that if we adopt something that every current elected or appointed member of any board or committee then have to sign something that says that they've read and acknowledged this. I know that our code of conduct doesn't really have any teeth, yeah. But this does also stress and could potentially let people know what to do if they do feel that they're a victim of sexual assault and harassment. So this, anyways, I took the current, which I provided you both, all the current policy that we have, and again, it's for employees. So as we know, when you are an elected official, that then removes any of the town granted as an employee, the protections that you're given. So we need to edit it and talk about it, but I just wanted to bring this forward and explain to you all why I think this is really important and get your thoughts and opinions on this.
Does this need to be vetted through an attorney or anything?
I think that would be,
Probably will have to.
yeah.
Will be?
Yep.
Were you looking for action on this tonight, Kelly, or?
No, I mean, I think we have to edit it. I'm hoping that by our next meeting, we could get to a point where we could potentially vote on this. This was a complete rewrite, so I didn't feel like, not a complete rewrite, but the points to even redline it was difficult, so I didn't do that. But I wanted you to see where it matches up. There's a couple things in here, again, because employees are protected, that legal consequences, disciplinary measures, or points where you could be removed from your role, obviously that doesn't apply to elected officials. So I do think it's important to note what the investigation process would be. Currently, I have it in here as you would go to the town administrator, because I don't think that our current complaint process is appropriate to then tell the person who's being accused of what happened initially for safety of others. So I think that's something that we have to talk about, and obviously I would take input from Danielle on that as our HR expert. And then, you know, we can't immediately discharge somebody. I don't know if there's any RSA that would allow us to do anything in particular, but like employees are allowed to go to the New Hampshire Commission for Human Rights. So maybe in this we even outline what you would do to make a police report. But I think, I'm sure that there's other people that this has happened to, and once again, I think it's really disgusting that we're even having to talk about this, but it's important that people understand their rights and also the left and right limits of definition, because we need it.
I have a quick question, and I think this is important, that the last 3 companies I've worked for, every year they give us sexual harassment class.
Yeah.
Now it's online and you have to go through and read it and take the test and everything. Do we do anything, or do we have anything like that?
So each department takes care of the training for their own employees. Appointed and elected officials, that'd be a completely different thing, that we do not provide any training for appointed or elected officials.
Primex requires that, doesn't
The
it?
state agencies have the same thing. You're required to go through it every year and attend a new course each year and get updated in case there's changes or updates.
But as an
Yeah.
employee,
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
correct.
we would have to check with Primex on what their specific requirements are. Right now, it's left to each department head to make that decision.
Is that a good idea?
To check with Primex, absolutely.
Yeah, I think.
Yep.
Okay, so let's put this on the agenda for our next meeting,
Yep, absolutely.
okay?
yep.
And you'll
Thank you.
also run that by the lawyer to see what,
By an attorney?
I know,
the
yeah, I
attorney,
know.
the attorney rather.
Danielle will probably most likely have some input for me. So we could probably start there and then put it to the lawyer. I mean, I want to make sure that we don't, I tried to remove as much of the employee-specific language, as I know that obviously that doesn't apply to elected or appointed officials, so, yeah, it's a muddy space, but once again, I think outlining how to report is what's really important, because our current complaint
And
procedure.
if we have a direction to go to,
Right.
that will take away some of the muddiness, and we can be a little more firm in what we're going to do.
All right. Anything else?
No.
Seems to me there was something else, I can't remember what it was though. So just to be clear, on the November, the schools closed, right? And
On election day.
on election day.
They are, I would have to reach out to the SAU to see if the teachers have training on that day.
I know they have done that in the past.
They have done that in the
We did talk about
past.
it, and I think the answer is no, but yeah, we should confirm.
Yep.
We asked at the high school.
And if and when they have had it, they go to Mountain View Middle School, they move everybody up there.
I'll ask Kathy to confirm with the school.
Check with Scott and see what's going on.
Yep.
Okay. Motion?
You just have a second public
Oh, I'm sorry.
comment period.
Anybody here from the public? Public comment?
The fire department?
Fire department guys? No? Okay. Seeing none? Take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes. All right, I gotta go sign.